All right, we are off a little late. Our apologies. Technical difficulties. They do happen from time to time. Welcome in. It is Friday night. It is another edition of Smack Talk here on the Sportskeeda Wrestling YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter channels. I am Rick Ucchino, my boy SP3, joining me as always. And let's see, Sid, damn good opening, great finish, and a bunch of other stuff that happened in the middle.
This was a SmackDown of two halves. The first half of the show, the first segment, really great promo. Last part of the show, really great match. And then everything in the middle, we're going to rant about, I think, for the next couple of hour or so.
I don't know. Like, here's the thing. I don't know if I really feel that strongly about anything that happened in the middle. Now, I know that there are some people out there who have some opinions about what we saw from Apollo Crews tonight. I've seen plenty of opinions out there on Twitter, which, by the way, please follow both of us if you do. We do live tweet throughout the entirety of SmackDown. Also, anything else that we do extra, first access to it right out there on our Twitter feeds. You can see our names right there up on the screen. Please do give us both a follow. We would really, really appreciate that. Also, make sure to give SK Wrestling a follow on Twitter, a follow on Facebook, and subscribe on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel as well. Let me get a couple of plugs out of the way. Talked to Jey Uso this week ahead of tonight's cage match, which was an absolute banger. That was a really, really fun interview. Asked him some really interesting questions, especially towards the back half, part 2. He did an entire shoot on Soulja Boy and what he had to say this week, so that was really, really fun. I also talked to Beth Phoenix this week. She is the narrator for the Heaven documentary that is coming out on Sunday on the WWE Network. We spent a lot of time talking about that. Also spoke to her about Edge and a few other things in part 2, which is coming out in, I don't know, about an hour or so. So all of those can be found, all those segments can be found on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. And I'll go ahead and announce it now. It's been a busy week. Why not just keep going? On Monday, I am scheduled because the golden rule here is card always subject to change. I am scheduled to talk to Toni Storm ahead of her NXT Women's Championship match against Io Shirai this coming Wednesday on NXT. So all of that can be found on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel, but you can get it first by following me on Twitter at Rick Ucchino and follow my boy Sid as well. So Sid, let's dive right into the opening segment for tonight, which I know a lot of people like to get to the wrestling quickly. But I honestly, I didn't mind the fact that our first match wasn't until 24 minutes into the show, because this opening segment was really, really good. It is hard to cut a good babyface promo. It is really hard to cut a good, especially in WWE, where they just give you the, I try my best and I'm going to overcome the odds. And I'm, just the happy-go-lucky everyday Joe type stuff, the kind of stuff they were feeding Sasha Banks early after her face turn.
Yeah.
It's really hard to get it done. Daniel Bryan put on a masterclass of cutting a babyface promo tonight and just said, look, man, I went into dad mode. I fell into dad mode. I was putting other people before me. I wasn't focusing on my priorities. And I get that. That speaks to me, honestly. Yes, I have fun while I'm at work, but I have been getting up at 2 a.m. every day this week, working 3 jobs because I got 2 kids that I'm putting ahead of my own needs. All right, that speaks to me. But Daniel Bryan says, hey, look, this is effing WrestleMania season. This could be my last shot at main eventing WrestleMania. Damn everybody else. Damn the kids. It is time for Daniel Bryan. And he wanted to head into WrestleMania, and he did it tonight in the main event. But that was a great way for him to kick off tonight.
Just a strong, impassioned promo. It was just brilliant by Daniel Bryan. You are absolutely right when you say cutting a babyface promo is one of the hardest things in the wrestling business, especially in 2021. Like, Jon Moxley is the standard bearer, and then, Drew McIntyre is really good at it. But Daniel Bryan showed that he's kind of in a class of himself, because Daniel Bryan's number one trait of why he became a star and why he's so successful is relatability. And that feeling of failure, we've all felt it one time or another. Even if you're not a father, you have had that feeling of failure. But like you, Rick, I am a father. My twins are about to turn 1 year old in 2 days.
So you know.
Yes, I know. I know. I'm new to this. I'm new to the game, but I know, and I related to a lot of what Daniel Bryan had to say. This was such a great promo because it pulled at your emotional strings and it made you want to rally behind Daniel Bryan. As much as I want to see Edge versus Roman Reigns, I kind of now want to see Daniel Bryan realize his dream and get back to the main event of WrestleMania. So I'm not against the idea of it becoming a triple threat match. Honestly, after that promo, after the match he had tonight, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I think we are on the path to Edge and Roman, but I wouldn't be totally objecting against a triple threat.
I don't think they'll do that again. See, because you got to remember the big thing was, right, is they knew they messed up at WrestleMania. Was it 30? Yeah, WrestleMania 30. They knew they messed up. They knew a match between Randy Orton and Batista, two heels in the main event, wasn't going to do a damn thing, especially when those crowds for weeks have been hijacking shows in favor of Daniel Bryan. Yes. You don't have that this time around. Those are piped in yes chants. You're not going to have we only hear that's the thing about the COVID era, right? With the Thunderdome and the piped in crowd noise. We only hear chants when we're supposed to hear chants. There's no boring chants. There's no CM Punk chants. There's no yes chants. There's no Becky Lynch chants when they're not supposed to be there. All right. So you're not going to get that organic groundswell behind Daniel Bryan like you did the last time, because even though it might be there out on social media, we're not going to see it on television. And that's where I think really kind of rules everything. Otherwise, I think you'd see a bigger groundswell for guys like Shinsuke Nakamura, who wasn't on the show tonight. I think you would see an even bigger groundswell for a guy like Cesaro at Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber. That place would have been going nuts for Cesaro.
100%.
And when he would have got booed, I guarantee you they would have hijacked the ending of that match. The fact that Cesaro wasn't in the finish, there were people mad on social media. So a lot of them, and I was one of them. A live crowd would have hijacked that because they wanted to see Cesaro win that matchup. So I don't think we're going to get that. And here's the other difference. It ain't Randy Orton versus Batista. This is Roman Reigns versus Edge. These are two guys that, I mean, look, everybody loves Edge now. Everybody enjoys seeing Edge, except for those weird people who want to focus on the fact that he's 47 or whatever. And then Roman Reigns is at the top of his game. I think it would actually be a mistake to add Daniel Bryan into this matchup.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's the route they should go. The story fits for it to be Edge and Roman Reigns. Like I said, that's a matchup that you could see going either way. Like I said last week, you know, you got the nostalgia factor with Edge. You got Roman being the top guy. Either or is a good possibility that WWE can go for. But that's how strong Daniel Bryan's promos is. Daniel Bryan's work in general. He is one of my all-time favorites. And with age, he has only gotten better at other things. He wasn't the best talker when I discovered him in 2005, 2004. But he has developed into such a strong talker, and he just is so relatable as a character, and is something that not a lot of baby faces in all of wrestling have like him.
I actually heard a really cool story this week about Daniel Bryan. I don't think I'm allowed to share it here, so I'm sorry to the audience, but remind me after the show is over, and I'll let you in on it. But so Daniel Bryan does cut that great promo. And you could feel from the beginning of the night that Daniel Bryan was going to end up winning in the main event. This seemed like the obvious direction they were going last week. I wish they would have at least I said last week, I wish they would have gone ahead and done it, but the way the show ended tonight, they gave us a hell of a cage match, but that was great. Before we even got there though, we talk about Daniel Bryan cutting a great babyface promo. Roman Reigns comes out and puts on a master class of his own. Like, dude is just dropping bombs and haymakers left and right and not even having to get overly emotional about it. He's just like, dude, You're wrong, man. You ain't ambitious. You luck into things. You're a lottery ticket. Like, you just wait for opportunities to come, and sometimes they go your way. You ain't never taken anything in your damn life. You don't love this. You need this. I love this, and you need me. Like that. God, just so damn good.
Such a gem.
I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, like, I look back on the stuff that they had, again, good babyface promos. Look at the crap they had Roman Reigns saying years ago compared to what he's allowed to do now. Just let people be themselves. And this is the kind of magic that you can create, because not only right after Roman was done, you think it was great that we got Daniel Bryan and Roman Reigns. Well, then all of a sudden Jey hops on the mic, and like, it was almost like a desperation, but just an aggression. Like, I got to do this. I know what I got to do. You got to get got tonight. Like, I have to get you, and you're going to get got. And then he tries to do the swing around, and Daniel just hits him with a wicked arm drag. But that whole opening thing, it just worked for me tonight. It was each guy added their own personal flair to it. They were all different, and it all made sense, and it just all worked very well tonight. It was almost poetry, that opening segment tonight.
Yeah, and not enough people are applauding how well Jey Uso is doing this character. His character's need for approval from Roman Reigns is just, you don't have to watch it from week to week. You could literally be a casual fan and you will automatically get Jey Uso's character, because in everything that he does, from the way he walks out to laughing at Daniel Bryan, to the swing around, to getting in his face, talking all that trash, like, it's just an overwhelming need to get approval from his cousin Roman Reigns, and it just feeds through, it just translates through the screen, and I love it every single week. But you're absolutely right. This was a great opening segment.
Yeah, I made this analogy a few weeks back. You know, Jey Uso is kind of like that kid who's searching for dad's approval. And no matter what he does right, it's never enough. And then when he screws up, it's bad. Like, you're just best to go stand in a corner and just not be noticed. Like, that's the only thing that really is going to help you on life. You are never going to hear those words, "I'm proud of you." Like, it's just not going to happen. It's never going to happen for Jey Uso. Nothing he does is ever going to be good enough. And it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see what happens when Jimmy does come back, which, by the way, I did get a little bit of an update on that in my Jey Uso interview. Again, check that out on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. Rob says, I'm intrigued to see how Jey is going to be treated next week. I think he's going to get his ass beat, probably, if I had to think about it. I mean, he's in trouble now, right? So it's like, yeah, I mean, you gotta spank him, right? Like, that's pretty much what's going to happen. We've seen him do it before. I mean, a few weeks ago, didn't he get wailed on with a steel folding chair after a match or something like that? You know, he's gotten his butt whooped before, and then he's right back next to his cousin because he ain't got nowhere to go. He is stuck between a rock and a hard place. It is, I either got to do what he says and hope I do it right, or I'm going to get hit. Like, that's just where he's at right now.
He's like an abused child at this point. It's a great character, just 100%. But yeah, I think that I think what's worse for Jey is getting the scolding. You know, it's one thing when your parent hits you, you know, those, you know, you'll get over it. After a while, you'll get used to it. But when they scold you, when they make you feel down and make you look at the ground, that hurts more. And Jey Uso just makes you realize that every time Roman does it to him.
Paul says, Heyman standing behind Reigns while Reigns was watching the match was like a nerdy kid trying to hang out with a cool kid. Reigns doesn't need Heyman, cut him loose. I don't know about that, because I actually love what Paul Heyman brings to it, because it's like, he's so reactionary, because he's waiting to see how Roman, he's that snake, right? He's waiting to see how Roman reacts to something before he reacts to something. So like the whole time while Jey, because Jey starts off the main event, right? Like a firecracker, aggressive right out of the gate. Like, he's giving Daniel Bryan that blue streak beating. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen Blue Streak?
Yes, I have.
Where, Martin Lawrence has young Dave Chappelle, and he's just shoving his face up against the jailhouse window. And he said, and he's holding over his mouth like he ain't talking or anything like that. Jey said something along those lines while he was shoving his face like into the ring, into the cage, and that's what made me think about that. So he's giving him that blue streak beating, and they cut over to Roman and Heyman the whole time is just staring there going, "You enjoying this? You liking this? Because if you like it, I like it. If you don't like it, I'm not pleased either." I love it. It's so subtle. It's so damn. It's like he wants to work with Roman because he wants to be that advocate, you know, for what does he call himself? It's different for Roman.
The special counsel to the tribal
special
chief.
counsel to the tribal chief. He wants to be in that position, but he's so damn afraid of Roman Reigns. He acts more afraid around Roman Reigns than he does around Brock Lesnar. It's almost like he knows he can control Brock Lesnar, but he doesn't think he can. He doesn't have a prayer of controlling Roman Reigns, and you can see that in his character. So I do love the subtlety that Paul Heyman adds to this whole mix.
Yeah, I was gonna wait till we got to the main event, but man, like the match itself was great. It was a really strong main event to the show. But man, Roman added so much at ringside, and Paul watching Roman added so much to this matchup because Paul kind of looked like Randall from Recess. And he's looking at Miss Grentree or whatever the teacher's name. He's like, you see that? You see what's going on there? You see what they're doing during recess? You see it? You see it? Like it's just great. It's just Paul Heyman's facial expressions make this whole character just come to life to another level. He does the same thing on Talking Smack. Like if you just watch SmackDown and you don't watch Talking Smack, you're missing a lot of what Heyman adds to different characters on this show and to his own character in related to Roman Reigns, the tribal chief.
Cam says, I can't believe they wheeled Roman's chair out for him. I can. Absolutely. He's the tribal chief. I'm surprised there wasn't a damn table out there for him to sit at the head of too.
Yes.
That's just the subtle things that you're missing. Yeah, I mean, we can go ahead and talk about the main event too, because it's all tied into one. Like, I did think this was a good match. I don't know why Corey Graves was out there at the beginning of the match explaining the rules. Maybe there was 1% of the audience out there who's watching who doesn't know what a cage match is. The rest of us know what a cage match is. Like, we know the rules. You can win by pinfall, you can win by submission, or you can escape the cage. What I really did love, though, was them showing the angle of the cage and really kind of emphasizing how high it is. Because, and even somebody in one of the SK chats was like, man, is the cage really that high? And I'm like, yes. If you've never been in a wrestling ring, standing on the top rope is scary as hell.
Yes.
Add 10 feet to that. That's some scary stuff, especially for somebody who hates heights like me. All right. I have a hard enough time doing a sunset flip, just going over some dude's back, looking 5 feet below straight at the ring. Like, I have an issue doing that. So standing on the top rope sucks. Standing on top of a cage sucks even more. And this is something I even talked to Ember Moon about because she's afraid of heights. So, I mean, it took her a long time to master the eclipse from the top rope and to get used to doing the eclipse from the top rope and being brave enough to do that. And it was actually Booker T who helped her get over that because he said, hey, look, if you want to, I want to take the eclipse, but I'm only going to let you do it to me if you do it off top rope because she used to do it off the middle rope.
Yeah.
And she was like, all right, I guess I'm going to do it off the top rope then. And she's been doing it off top rope ever since. So that was a really cool story. That interview also is up on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. So, yes, I love how they showed that because it did add an element of frankly, fear to it. And then, these two guys just beat the holy hell out of each other. But what I really, really loved was the ending because the referee actually remembered that there are no rope breaks in a cage match. And so Jey Uso is holding onto that rope and there's nothing he can do. Daniel's got the S-lock locked in. There's nothing that Jey can do. He had to tap right in front of Roman. That was such perfect positioning. He had to do it right in front of Roman. He knew there was nothing he could do. And he's just screaming like, it was almost like pain, but it was almost like GD son of a B just tapping like, oh, I can't believe I messed this up. I really, really loved that ending to that cage match.
Yeah, the ending was excellent. The match overall, I like that they were doing a lot to try to escape the cage. A lot of stuff was on the top rope near the steel cage. It kind of reminded me of Owen versus Brett. Just not as long, not as great as that match, but really, really, really good main event to this whole show. It made Daniel Bryan look strong going into Fastlane. But like you said, that ending kind of put the cherry on top because it protected Jey Uso. And that was the whole thing of this whole rivalry that they've kind of had, because it's kind of spanned all the way back to like November or October of last year. They've had these series of matches, and Jey Uso has gotten a lot of victories over Daniel Bryan. So they had to have the right finish here that still protected him and still, made sure that he still had that momentum from all those victories over Daniel Bryan, where he has an out, where he could say, if it was a regular match, the move would have had to be broken and I would have beat you. So I love that ending. This matchup was such a great way to set up Fastlane, and Fastlane finally has a match that I want to see in Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns.
Yeah. We found out another match that was added this week, and we will get to that. But yeah, it's amazing. If you look at Jey Uso's match results, he hasn't won a singles match since November, but you wouldn't know that. I mean, he has been in a lot of main events. Obviously, he's secondhand to Roman Reigns, but he did get some key pinfalls. He beat Kevin Owens inside Elimination Chamber. He beat Cesaro inside of Elimination Chamber and came within an eyelash of pinning Daniel Bryan and winning the whole dang thing. But yeah, he has, you look at Jey Uso and the way he's presented on screen and the way that he has been, portrayed as a character, you wouldn't think that he hasn't won a singles match since November. It's just, he has been, like you said, protected to a certain extent to where he's still very, very credible, even though he's not winning right now.
Yeah. Even the matches with like Kevin Owens, like they ended like DQ. There was like no contest. So they found a way to always protect him, and his losses haven't really hurt him at all. Like he's still in the same position that he's worked hard for over the last couple of months to get himself in. And I love what they've done with Jey Uso. And I hope that even when Jimmy Uso returns, they kind of keep this character and keep his momentum as a singles guy, where we can have potential of the Usos as individuals, kind of having their own different characters. That's what I want from them. And I think that would elevate their already great legacy within WWE.
Man, it's really interesting you say that. And I swear I'm not just sitting here trying to plug my interviews, but Jay kind of talked about that a little bit, and it's in part 2 of my conversation with him. And I promise that might be hopefully my last. I feel like I'm turning into Mick Foley. I'm just giving shameless plugs left and right. I feel like you just right here on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. Yeah.
I felt like the Miami Heat meme with D Wade alley-oop in it, and you were LeBron and just slammed it home.
I did tweet out a Miami Heat meme. I'll tell you which one coming up here in a little bit. But Paul did have a great question. I'm trying to find it. There it is. This is something that's always been on my mind too. I will never understand when there's a steel cage match and one guy or girl is climbing the cage while the other person doesn't just try to go outside the door. I think we have seen that once or twice when there's a finish, but this is one of those things where in wrestling that just there's no way to write it to make it make sense.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen those sprint endings to where like one person's trying to jump out of the cage and the other person's crawling to the door. We have seen those before. I can't remember specifically what match, but I know I've seen it before. But yeah, this is definitely just one of those things where there's no way to put it into the match to have it make sense. It's just one of those things in wrestling that's never, ever going to make sense. That's just what it is. Make sure to get your guys' comments in. Make sure to give us some engagement, some love, the likes, the hearts, the shocked face that somebody gave us early on in the show. We appreciate all of those. The more engagement we get, it really helps grow our audience. So we do appreciate everybody who is on right now. And yes, please do get your comments in. So let's move on from what, honestly, that was the good stuff tonight.
Yeah.
That opening, ending. Now let's get to some of this stuff in the middle, shall we? So we have an advertised tag team match, and this is supposed to be a rematch from what happened last week. And I swear, at the beginning of this match, I'm thinking to myself, are they really trying to shoehorn Sami Zayn and King Corbin together? Like, don't they have enough makeshift tag teams? And then almost like King Corbin was reading my mind, he comes out and says, no, screw this. I don't like you. I work on my own. We're going to do singles matches. I don't need you. I don't need this damn tag team. Thank you, King Corbin. I don't say that very often, but Thank you. That is literally all I needed to see out of this was, all right, cool. Give me Corbin and Montez Ford. That should be a fun little match. A little shorter than I would have liked to have seen it. We could have those minutes that Corey Graves was standing in the ring explaining how a cage match goes. You could have given that to Corbin and Montez Ford, because I could watch Montez Ford wrestle for 3 straight hours against a broom because he's just that damn good. But Corbin is also really good and very underrated in his own right. I didn't really like the finish because I know they're trying to build the Street Profits back up into the tag team title picture to get them at the Dirty Dogs or whatever the heck they're calling themselves these days. Can't get on television. Dang tag champs can't get on television right now. Have they had a match since they won the titles? I legitimately don't, except for the qualifier, right? The Elimination Chamber qualifier. That was like, and they lost. That was the only match they've had since they won the tag team titles. So King Corbin ends up beating Montez Ford. I don't really like that, even though he did it off the distraction. And then Corbin says, you know what? Screw you, Sami. I'm not helping you. Sami and Angelo Dawkins have a hell of a matchup. Sami ends up losing because of a distraction off of his own camera crew. And then Sami beats the holy hell out of his camera crew member, which is Blake Christian, one of the new signees to the WWE Performance Center. I was like, hey, I recognize that pasty redheaded guy. Yeah, I know that dude. So he got his butt beat. And then Sami went really paranoid at the end of all of this. And he's this close to snapping. Like, I think that's the most intriguing thing, is he's really about to snap. And I'm really intrigued as to where he's going to go after all this.
Yeah, unhinged Sami Zayn is a direction that I didn't think they would go with this, but it's something that could get us reinvested in the whole journey that he's going on right now ever since losing the Intercontinental Championship. And I said the same thing when he went up to the documentarian, and I was like, oh, is that Blake Christian? I was like, because he had the hat on, because he has the signature hair. So, you know, you see the face, but you can, like, I need to see the hair to connect it. So I was like, thank you for confirming that for me. But that was a nice little moment there. But I enjoyed the Montez and King Corbin matchup actually a little bit more than the Dawkins and Zayn match, because I just feel Montez has like RVD type potential. How RVD was like the guy that can be like on the cuffs of the main event scene, but he was like that stable mid-card champion for a lot of years in the WWE and just was phenomenal in the ring and just had that cool factor. I think Montez Ford has a lot of those traits in him, and he can be like an Intercontinental champion or a US champion for years to come. So I just enjoy seeing Montez Ford in the ring. So that's probably why I enjoyed that match a little bit.
I get it.
So,
but I actually think he's more than that. I think he's got future WWE champion written all over him, or Universal champion, whatever. Still a few years away, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe even 5, or hell, it could be 10 like Kofi Kingston. But this will be my bold prediction as a wrestling journalist analyst. Montez Ford will be WWE or Universal champion at some point in his career. And if he doesn't, it's just a damn shame in a long line of damn shames. I mean, hell, it took Bobby Lashley until 44 years old to win the WWE Championship. Never say never, all right? But I'm telling you, I got him pegged as main event superstar 5, 6, 7 years down the road from now.
Oh yeah. I'm not saying that, you know, the mid-card title is like his like ceiling. I'm just saying that that RVD type of role I could see for him. And he's just everything he does in the ring is just cool. And he has that athleticism. And of course, he has the frog splat that kind of matches RVD. So that's why I got the connection as well. Yeah. Dawkins has improved tremendously, and I did enjoy a lot of what he did with Sami Zayn. It was just the finish just took all the wind out of me. Like, I understand there was kind of a dirty distraction finish to the Corbin and Ford match, but just Ford being over the top with the documentarians when Zayn was on the cuffs of winning, I was just like, okay, yes, it's in Zayn's character to get distracted by that, but really, and then the roll-up victory was kind of lazy in comparison to another roll-up victory that we would see later in the show, where that one made sense within the matchup. This one didn't. Yeah,
see, I would have preferred the silencer is what they're calling it. Angelo's new, like, swinging neck breaker.
Yeah.
I would have preferred them protect that a little bit more, because Sami kicked out of it, and that genuinely surprised me. Like, I thought the match was done right there. Like, I'm like, damn, Angelo just beat Sami clean. Okay. And then he kicks out of it. And I'm like, okay, as much as I love Sami Zayn, I don't like that. Like, say what you want about King Corbin. They protect End of Days. That is the most protected finisher in the company. Nobody has ever kicked out of that. And he wants that to be a huge moment when somebody finally does. For that to actually happen, they have to do something with him and let him win more matches. But he hits that thing out of nowhere, it's over. So the second that End of Days hit, I knew Montez was done. I thought Sami was done when Angelo hit the silencer, and that surprised me. And then I'm like, no, I don't like it. It's a new finisher. He's trying to build it up. Protect it a little bit. Don't let him hit it and then think, oh, well, Sami's going to win this match now, and then have Angelo win anyway off of a distraction. I didn't like that finish at all.
Nah, just the roll-up finish and distraction into the roll-up finish is just an overused trope of WWE. So whenever it takes place, no matter what good work I saw beforehand, it kind of takes all the wind out of it to me.
Moving on, we'll skip over Carmella and Reggie, because we're going to talk about Reggie a lot here coming up. But we can move on to Dominik Mysterio and Chad Gable. This was a fun little match. There wasn't really anything a lot spectacular. I will say Chad Gable, doesn't matter what he does, even if it's a basic chain wrestling match like we saw right here tonight, he is so damn smooth, and he makes it look so easy and so good. Like, a lot of those moves looked really spectacular, and I'm not going to say they're easy to do, but they're some of the easier moves to do in a wrestling ring. Trust me, because I can do some of them. So if I can do them, they're among the easier ones. But he makes it look so flashy and so good. And this was a really good back and forth technical matchup for Dominik to kind of cut his teeth on, because that's what I'm looking for out of Dominik, is because he doesn't have those live house shows to where he can go and he can just wrestle. The only place he can wrestle in front of a live crowd right now is on SmackDown. That's it. So this is where he's got to cut his teeth. So that's why you see him wrestle guys like Corbin, where you see wrestle a guy like Chad Gable. If Drew Gulak was still on SmackDown, I'm sure he'd be wrestling him as well. Just these guys who can go out there and go with anybody, who can dance with anybody. And I thought this was a really good opponent for Dominik. I'm not sure I would have put Dominik over him clean, but it was a decision. It was a fun little match, and Dominik just gets better and better. The one thing I will say about that, though, is he did good in this match, Dominik did, but I would like to see him sell the knee injury a little bit more, because Gable worked on that knee for 3, 4, maybe even 5 minutes. And then as soon as Dominik got up, he was walking around like nobody's business. That makes Gable look bad. So sell for your guy a little bit more. That's all I'm going to say. But other than that, I thought Dominik did good tonight.
Yeah, Dominik he just needs some, fine tuning. He doesn't know how to fill in the in-between parts. Like, he knows how to get from spot A to spot B, but he doesn't know what to do in between getting to those points, in between those points, basically. But I really enjoyed what they did in the ring together. I think the first time that I saw them in the ring together was back at Survivor Series on the pre-show, when they did the brand to brand battle royal before The Miz just came out of nowhere and did the automatic battle royal troop of laying outside and then eliminating the last guy. Yeah. They had a great exchange there, and they did that again here. They have really good chemistry together, so I enjoyed it. I felt like it was a really fun sprint, and I expected Chad Gable to take the loss here. Why? Because he's Chad Gable. And I am a huge Chad Gable fan. I am someone that when he first debuted in NXT, I was like, this man has Kurt Angle type vibes to him. Like, when I saw him, everything that he did in those backstage segments with Jason Jordan, I was like, he has that Kurt Angle type charisma and humor to him. But WWE...
Not to cut you off.
Yeah.
But would you say he's Kurt Angle's mini-me?
Yeah. I think that is safe to say, like a grown-up version. Like, if they did a 10 years later version of Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
We got, look, there's your next ABC show, Young Kurt, starring Chad Gable. Let's go. We got it. Sold, son.
He could play Kurt in the Olympics. Absolutely.
I was thinking 10-year-old Kurt, but I mean, yeah, we can do it one way or the other, whichever works. Doesn't have to be a mirror image of young Rock.
Either or, that works for me. That works for me. But yes, I enjoy Chad Gable in the ring. This was good stuff. But when Alpha Academy is coming out and they said Chad Gable's having a singles match, I kind of assume Chad Gable is taking a loss. If they want Alpha Academy to get a singles victory, it's going to be Otis.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig says send him Dominik, I'm assuming, to NXT to get some action. If his last name wasn't Mysterio, I think he would be there.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you. I mean, I think there was the report that came out today. Was it a Fightful report? I read so many reports all day. I can never keep them straight. So if I don't give proper credit, I'm sorry. Maybe it was Wrestling Observer. It was Wrestling Observer. They said that they aren't really looking to sign like people to the Performance Center unless they're over 30 now.
Yeah.
And Dominik's 23. So, I mean, unless you're a special talent or that was the report. Unless you're a very, very special talent, they're not looking to hire you unless you're over 30. So everybody wants to make this huge thing about Edge winning the Royal Rumble at 47 or Bobby Lashley winning the WWE Championship at 44. Guess what, guys? That's prime age now. All right, like there's that. WWE is the major leagues. All right, everybody else, with the exception of maybe AEW, man, when you're 20 in your 20s and maybe even early 30s, WWE is not looking at you until you get to almost to your mid 30s. Karrion Kross 35. Yeah. Karrion Kross 35. Matt Riddle's 35. Yeah. Excuse me, 35. They're both 35, and you're talking about those guys being the future. So Dominik Mysterio is a special situation because of who he is. That's just part of the game. Family, second, third, fourth generation, what have you. You're part of that wrestling family already. So that's why Dominik is in a special situation, and that's why Dominik gets to cut his teeth on SmackDown.
Yeah, when you look at the WWE roster and all brands included, like if you are under the age of 25, you're either in NXT UK or you're a female star that had a lot of momentum on the independent scene. Like it's very rare that you're a male on the main roster under 25 years old. Like I did an interview with Georgia Smith, the daughter of British Bulldog, and I asked her what's her view on today's wrestling. And she was like, when her dad was wrestling, it felt like all the wrestlers were dads, were grown men. She says when she watches wrestling today, everyone feels so young. And I was like, what do you think about a Damian Priest that just debuted? She was like, yeah, he's like a young guy that looks young. I was like, he's 38 years old. She said what? She couldn't believe that Damian Priest is 38 years old. Like even when you look young, you're much older than what you look.
How old do you think I am?
I'm gonna say 34.
Dang, you're close. I'm 33 in next month, actually. See, most people, if I shaved this, I get the mid-20s. It used to be 19, but I get the mid-20s. So it's like because I do train, obviously I've mentioned that before. So, but everybody in my class, school, whatever you want to call it, I'm the teacher's age. Like I'm more in their age bracket because all these kids are like 20, 22, 19, and I'm locking up with these guys, and I'm like, I feel like I'm wrestling high schoolers. Like, what the hell is going on? And they all thought I was in their age bracket at first, and I'm like, nah, I made a Dumb and Dumber reference in class and no one got it. Because they had all been born after the damn movie came out. They hadn't seen it. They probably don't even know who Jim Carrey is. All right. So yes, people do look a lot younger. And anyway, that's what I'm saying. I'm trying to agree with you, and somehow I go off the rails and I'm talking about.
No, that was perfect. That was perfect. Because what I thought about, I was like, your Blue Streak reference would have went over their head too.
I honestly thought I might have gone over a lot of people. Very underrated Martin Lawrence flick. All right, very underrated. And that was like early Dave Chappelle, like really early Dave Chappelle, and it's so good. Luke Wilson in that movie as well. Oh, and
ironically, Jey Uso made a reference to it on Talk It's Back a couple of weeks ago. He said the line Martin said before he crossed the border to Mexico to Kalisto. He said that to him on Talk It's Back.
Oh God, the
Paradose or something.
No, it was Tengo un gato
Yes.
sus pantalones. Yes, that's what he said. Yeah. I don't know why I remember that, but I do. I can't remember what I ate for breakfast 3 days ago, but I can remember a broken Spanish line from a movie that came out in 1998 or whatever the hell it was.
Jesus, you're making me feel old now.
Hey Rick, did you guys get to watch Coming to America yet? I have not. I had 50 minutes of free time today, and I watched WandaVision. I watched the season finale. No spoilers, good stuff. Watch until the end. So yeah, anyway, Dominik had a pretty good showing tonight, and yeah, we can move on to the thing that I feel most passionately about tonight. And this is the one that really kind of bothers me. I don't know why Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair are getting this tag match at Fastlane. It makes no sense to me. I understand that Reggie got involved the last time and kind of screwed them out of this, and Sasha ended up eating a pin from Nia Jax, which made Sasha not look great, because the one thing you really don't want to do with Bianca and Sasha is have either one of them lose, eat a pin, whatever, distraction or not, heading into this big match at WrestleMania. You want both of them on top of their game, but at the same time, you have your women's tag team champions who are supposed to look dominant and look strong. And all of a sudden now, Shayna Baszler is just another woman on the roster. This time last year, she was figuratively murdering people and then literally bit Becky Lynch. Looked like she was on pace to win the championship, the Raw Women's Championship, after dominating the entire roster in a fashion that we hadn't seen before. Remember that Elimination Chamber matchup?
Yeah.
She crushed the entire roster in one fell swoop. Everybody was pissed about that, but I loved it because it made her look so strong. Going up against somebody like Becky Lynch, who was untouchable for the better part of a year. And then Becky wins in a quick 8-minute match on a fluke roll-up. And I believe they were going to continue that storyline. And then Becky's pregnancy announcement happened, and then they shelved everything. I think, with the exception of people who can't get on television right now, Shayna Baszler, her booking has suffered the most in the empty arena era. Because she went from this unstoppable monster to competing in Money in the Bank, to losing that matchup, to disappearing for almost months. And now, even with her tag team championship wins, look at the team. When they win, it's Nia winning. When they lose, it's Shayna losing. She's not the one that's protected. It's Nia in this situation. Shayna lost to Naomi in minutes a few weeks ago, and then Nia destroys Naomi a few weeks later. Like, that's just where the booking is. I hate that she loses so easily now. But you don't want Bianca to lose either. So Bianca, even with a distraction that should have helped Shayna win the match, wins the match tonight. Which is the right call, because Bianca needs to win more than Shayna. But I hate it because Shayna shouldn't be losing, especially when she just lost to Charlotte Flair on Monday in 2 minutes. A match that would have headlined a pay-per-view last year on Raw after Elimination Chamber between Fastlane. She loses in 2 minutes. I hate that these four women are working together right now, because it doesn't benefit anybody. How do you book this matchup? Are you going to have Sasha and Bianca win the women's tag team titles and then not have those titles defended at WrestleMania because they ain't pulling double duty? I can guarantee you they ain't pulling double duty. So you're either taking those titles out of contention for WrestleMania, or Sasha and Bianca have to lose on the pay-per-view before WrestleMania. I hate this. I hate this so much. You're intentionally putting yourself in a hard place.
Yeah, and it's like they booked themselves into this whole corner. And it's like, you know, me and you, we talked about it last week when Bianca choosing Sasha. We want big things for this matchup.
Yeah.
But if their idea to build up to this big match is put them in a tag team where they don't get along, pair them up with a sommelier who just doesn't know how to get out the way, and everything that is not making this feel like a main event match at WrestleMania. All of this is just totally negating the fact that just putting Sasha versus Bianca on a post on social media got thousands upon thousands of people asking for this to be the main event of WrestleMania. But how it's been presented on television has not matched that at all. And I am a fan of Reggie the Sommelier. I said it a couple of weeks ago. I enjoyed the whole shtick, but I thought it was all leading to a logical place of Sasha, either aligning with Reggie and turning heel on Bianca, and maybe they get to that route at Fastlane. But this is stretching out this part of the story way too long. It's just way too long. And I thought after everything at the Elimination Chamber, the fact that he was still paired up with them, maybe you're building to a Bianca versus Carmella at Fastlane, get Bianca a win on pay-per-view before WrestleMania. That's a little bit more interesting than what we're getting. Just giving us a rematch without them even winning a tag team match after they lost at Elimination Chamber. They literally didn't even do anything together. They made their match at WrestleMania, and then they're in a tag team title match. It just doesn't make any sense, especially when Lana and Naomi are sitting there like, we've been number one contenders for about 8 weeks now, and Raquel and Dakota got a title shot. Sasha and Bianca got a title shot twice. It's like, what the hell is going on with this tag team division?
You want to talk about a conspiracy theory? WWE will do anything to keep Lana out of a title match. Like that is just like, she got a couple of Raw title matches, but like they don't want to put her in these tag championship matches for some reason.
Nope.
Like she should have won, and then they took her out. Like they built this whole storyline around her all summer long, all fall long. It wasn't Asuka who was the main star of the women's division, the Raw Women's Champion. It was Lana. It was Lana and Nia. And then right before the payoff, they take Lana out. And then they put the titles on Asuka and Charlotte for some reason. And now they're back on... Look, Dakota and Raquel should have won on Wednesday. They absolutely should have won on Wednesday. That should have been the direction that you could have gone. It could have given us a lot of really interesting, fresh matchups. That's with the exception of the Riot Squad, that is your longest tenured tag team that you have left.
Yeah.
And the Riot Squad should be getting this matchup on Sunday. Heck, even Natalya and Tamina should be getting this title shot ahead of Bianca and Sasha. That was really the only thing that I liked about tonight was Natty and Tamina going to Adam and Sonya like, what the hell, man? Why are you doing this? This doesn't make sense. At least WWE acknowledged on television that this doesn't make sense. They're very self-aware at what they do, especially, they are when they draw attention to it. And then Sonya just goes, he made another call. Because it kind of does make sense when you look at Adam Pearce's character, though, because he's all about making the biggest marquee match possible. He doesn't really care so much about the process and getting there. He just wants to make those big matches. And we've seen him do that before. So yeah, even as dumb as it is, taking Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks and putting them in a championship matchup together ahead of WrestleMania, I can see the WWE logic of making that match, even though there are other teams ahead of them, including Lana and Naomi, as you said, who have earned a number one contenders matchup and may never even get it. Like, to be completely honest with you, like this may just be one of those things that disappears completely.
Yeah. I'm not convinced that they're ever gonna get a shot at those titles because they should have got a shot. Like, the whole build up to the Lana storyline was her getting put through a table week after week. And then you have a pay-per-view. Then you have a pay-per-view called TLC, Tables, Ladders, and Chairs, and she gets hurt the week before. Like, come on, I'm convinced now this is not going to happen. This is just a running gag with her character that she's going to always have this WWE Women's Tag Team title shot because she's pretty much had one in her back pocket for 3 months now.
Yeah, I don't know why they just, if you don't have plans for Naomi and Lana to win these championships, and maybe they do and they're just waiting for the right time to do it. Maybe they're honestly they're just trying to kick the can down the road to WrestleMania. Maybe WrestleMania we get that 4-team tornado tag team, whatever, where it's Shayna and Nia versus Dakota and Raquel, and then you could put in Naomi and Lana, and then I would go with the Riot Squad, but Tamina and Natalya, whoever, and you can figure out what you want to do from there. Maybe Dakota and Raquel win that. Although that report from Wrestling Observer also came out today that they're talking about creating the NXT Women's Tag Team titles, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. But we only have 9 minutes left in the show, so I'm not going to dive deep into how bad of an idea that truly is. Yes. Just use the ones you freaking got already. It's like, no, okay, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't get there. I can't do it. I'm not going to let myself go off the rails on that one. That'll be for another show, another video, an article, something.
I love it.
But the other thing that I just really don't like about this whole situation is I'm getting that Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey vibe, where this is a home run. This is a slam dunk match. All you have to do, you have to actively try to F this up with Bianca and Sasha. Replace Charlotte, insert Reggie, and that's what they're doing. Yeah. Reginald has way too prominent of a role right now. And the only hope that I have is that he was fired by Carmella and Sasha doesn't want his ass. And then all of a sudden, Nia comes in and goes, oh, hey, you're cute. Maybe we can use you. You want to be my little lapdog. If they want to put him with Nia and Shayna and he helps Nia and Shayna win on Sunday or causes a disqualification or something and ends this in hijinks and he stays with Nia and Shayna, and then for the next 4 or 5 weeks, whatever, we just get Bianca and Sasha, great. Perfect. Sign me up. Reggie's talented. He can go over to Raw. He can be, Nia's little whatever she wants him to be. That's the way to book this. That's the way to book yourself out of this corner. It's got to be a DQ at Fastlane. I don't think you can afford to have Sasha or Bianca eat a pin. And you damn sure don't want to put the tag team titles on them either.
No, they can't have their John Cena versus Shawn Michaels WrestleMania 23 build up when they were tag team champions and versed each other for the top title. I know WWE loves, though, the first time ever. And I know they would run it into the ground that this is the first time ever WWE Women's Tag Team Champions go one-on-one in the main event of WrestleMania, even though it's probably going to be like the first match on the card. They're going to call it the main event of WrestleMania. Absolutely. I can totally see it, but I don't want that to be the case. I just want Sasha to be a heel. Just go heel, Sasha, because everything you do, even when you don't have a promo like tonight, you come off like a heel. Even when Reggie is supposed to be the heel in this whole scenario, he comes off a lot more sympathetic, especially when he's there with Sasha and he's just like saying, "You're great, you're the greatest, you're the best." And she slaps him in the face. Like, who am I supposed to root for here? Hard. How am I supposed to root for Sasha? It hurt her hand, she said.
Yeah. Danny, by the way, Sid outlined it perfectly. A potential storyline where Bianca and Sasha go into WrestleMania as tag champs. That's your story. And that's all you're going to get because they're not going to make them defend the tag titles. They're just not. There's no way that they're pulling double duty. I would be fine if they pull double duty. But well, here's the thing, because you can do it. It's 2 nights this week or this year. Yeah. So you can have them defend the tag titles on night 1 or have the championship match be the main event on night 1 and then have them defend the tag titles after one of them just beat the other. That would at least be a compelling storyline heading into night 2. You could have them close night 1, open night 2, and that would be very, very interesting. I don't think they would do that in a heartbeat, though. I think they would put the tag titles on them. It would be the same situation as when they put the SmackDown Women's Championship on Charlotte ahead of the main event of WrestleMania 35. They didn't have space to put another match on the card, and they just wanted to shoehorn the SmackDown Women's Championship in there somewhere. So their logic, I think, would be, well, we could take the women's tag title match off the card by putting the belts on 2 opponents, and then boom, hey, they're on the card, even though they're not being defended, but they're there, so it counts. That's WWE's logic. I think that's the storyline that they would do if they put the titles on Sasha and Bianca, which they shouldn't.
Yeah, hopefully they don't, and we are just doing a little bit of speculating and fantasy booking here. And I don't want them to take the loss at Fastlane though. Like they've done enough losses for Sasha. I don't want to see Sasha take a loss. Definitely don't want to see Bianca take a loss. And tonight should have meant something. Like Bianca versus Shayna Baszler, like 3-4 times in NXT and never got a victory over her. And then she beats her here, and it's really meaningless. Like it didn't feel important because of what they've done to the character of Shayna Baszler. Like she was so special a year and a half ago. It's just so sad to see where she's at right now. And for better or worse, her and Nia Jax have had one of the better women's tag team title runs. That's more to say about how they treat these titles than how they've treated them as a team. But hey, at least they have that. At least she has that to fall back on. That she's probably the 3rd or 4th best women's tag team champions of all time.
There's only been 5. 6. I think there's been 6. Congratulations, you're still in the bottom half.
I said 3rd. That's like in the middle. That's right in the middle.
You said 4th or 5th at the end. You dropped her down a peg or 2.
I was being realistic.
It's almost like there's a massive disconnect between NXT and Raw and SmackDown. I don't know what it is. It's almost like there's a big disconnect there. All right, before we wrap up, I'm going to give the floor to you because I honestly don't think I'm in a position to where I can have an adequate opinion on what we saw out of Apollo Crews tonight. I can understand that there are people who feel a certain way about it, and I respect it. I'm not going to tell anybody how they should feel about it. All I'll say is Apollo Crews seems to be all in on this character. He's keeping the accent, which I don't think is necessary. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I just don't think it's necessary. But I know there are some people out there who hate it. I know there are some people out there who find it offensive based on what I saw on Twitter. Not going to tell how anybody how to feel. That's their prerogative. What is your take on what we saw out of Apollo Crews tonight?
Yeah, like you, I'm not going to say you're wrong if you were offended by anything we witnessed tonight. Me, myself, I like to take everything in a vacuum and just watch it for what it is. Take out my personal feelings on it or what type of like thoughts that I have going through my head. And there was plenty going on through my head watching this, but I just had to leave all of that alone and just take it in. And the performance by Apollo Crews was top notch. He did tremendous in the role that he was given. The stuff that I was just like, I had to kind of push my own thoughts out of my head is immediately when he comes out with a spear, I was just like, that's a little much. That's a little much because it didn't look like it was made of vibranium. So you didn't hit me over the head with the reference you were making, but it was just very offensive that was the choice that they made. I like the additions to his song, the little mix with the little mix that they did to his song. I like the guards by him. It's a nice presentation of the character. The accent. Now that my opinion on the accent depends if this is something that, if you really hear Apollo talk, is it something that he can do or something that he's worked to talk the way that he's talked previously, and this is how like he was talking before he cleared out his accent. It was very jarring. So I understand why it got such a polarizing viewpoint on social media, because it was one thing to kind of just go into it during the promo last week, but to do a full promo after you kind of showed both sides, I understand you're going back to your roots. And yes, it is a good point of heel heat, but he kind of should have established that in last week's promo, that this is how I'm going to be talking from now on, because I'm going back to my roots. Just coming out with it this week and just going full throttle with it, I think that's the reason why I got this reaction. But like I said, in a vacuum, his performance was well done. So
here's the thing. And I'm just being honest, I have no idea what a legitimate Nigerian accent sounds like. I don't know. And I'm going to pull up Cam's comment here because this is the first thing that I thought of. I thought dude was Wakandan.
Yeah.
That's what he sounds like. He sounds like he's from Wakanda. I don't know if that's, I'll look it up. I will try to look it up and see how it comes across. I did kind of like, though, how Apollo said, this is how I actually talk.
Yeah.
He explained it. Like, this whole time, he was pulling the Kofi Kingston. And I know there's several people who have said this is the anti-Kofi Kingston. No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing as Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston was pretending to be Jamaican. Apollo was pretending to be American. That's the difference. So that's the difference. At least that's the storyline. In real life, yes, it's probably the reverse. It was them telling Kofi, hey, you're going to be Jamaican. And in real life, now they're telling Apollo, hey, you're going to speak with a Nigerian accent. So yes, in real life, it was the same thing. But in story mode, it's the same thing. It's just a different accent. It's just going, one went to American and the other one changed from American to a Nigerian accent. So I don't have an issue with it. If that's what they want to do with this character and he says, hey, look, I've been faking it this whole time. That's not the real me. This is the real me. Okay, I can get behind that. I'm fine with it. I just don't know how accurate the accent is. Like this, the way this comes across to me is, yeah, it looks like Vince watched Black Panther for the first time and said, hey, we should do that. When Black Panther came out like
3 years ago.
Three, 4 years ago. And now I'm thinking about Chadwick Boseman, and I'm just like, I'm still sad about that.
Yeah, that's what I immediately thought of is when he did that accent. I was like, is he going for Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther? That's what I thought he was going for. I didn't think he was going for Nigerian accent because I've heard Nigerian accents, and yeah, I mean maybe there's different accents within the Nigerian culture, but the Nigerian accents I've heard before, that wasn't it. So hey, to each his own.
Yeah. Paul with a reminder. Yes, I did have it in here. I missed it. Overlooked it on my notes. Murphy did return tonight. Okay, so he immediately returns, and I'm like, sweet. He's standing next to Seth Rollins again, but he was back on the show. He wrestled Cesaro. He lost. He got locked in the sharpshooter. He was 2 feet away from the ropes. Didn't even reach his hand out to grab him and just tapped. Actually, he tapped twice because he tapped and Michael Cole said he tapped, but the ref didn't call for the bell, and then he tapped again. So he actually lost this match twice.
Did he tap? Because I thought Michael Cole told the future. I thought he was doing live spoilers.
I swear I saw Apollo's hand. So maybe it was one of those things where he's like, maybe it was like that, and Cole just was a little premature on the call. But man, this was the Miami Heat meme that I referred to because I tweeted out that Alonzo Mourning, that GIF where he's just like, that's kind of how I feel about it. I'm just like, I don't want him around Seth Rollins whatsoever, but at the same time, he was getting used. He was on the show. He wrestled. So I'm going to take this as a step one. He got on the show again in a somewhat, not very meaningful way because it didn't look like there were really any kind of plans for. He wasn't the subject matter. Like he was just kind of there to help push along the Cesaro Seth Rollins storyline.
Yeah.
Almost like we're completely forgetting about everything that happened in 2020 and the fact that he beat Rollins clean as a whistle right before Survivor Series. And then that was it. Yep. I guess he and Aaliyah broke up. They're not bringing that back. We have no idea what's going on there. It is the damnedest thing. It is. I know there were reports that he was going to be the guy that Ray and Dominik brought in to help with King Corbin and the Knights of the Lone Wolf. And then one of the Knights ended up being released. And now they don't know what to do with Murphy and Blake, even though it's pretty damn obvious to me. They were NXT Tag Team Champions. Just put them back together. Aaliyah can be their manager and you can put them in the tag team division. It ain't hard. It's not hard. Once again, it's almost like there's a disconnect between NXT and Raw and SmackDown.
Yeah, that would have worked like perfect because Aaliyah would have just played the Alexa Bliss role in that whole team. But yeah, I'm kind of like you, except I'm kind of with the feeling like, yeah, I'd rather him had just stayed off of TV for one more week than stand next to Seth Rollins. I am totally over. If there's one partnership between like a younger wrestler and a established star on the main roster that I'm just totally sick of, and I just rather the two people not be on my TV than be next to each other, it is Seth Rollins and Murphy. And it's all down to the Seth Rollins Rey Mysterio feud. Like, that feud totally killed me on the whole entire partnership, because just him coming up to Seth and saying, I'll take care of Cesaro for you, totally goes against everything that you established about his character last year. Like, it just made no sense.
And to at least to his credit, Seth Rollins was like, get the hell out of my face, which I think is what we were all saying internally, like, get away from that man. Stop it. And again, this is something where WWE is being very self-aware. They knew the second that those two guys were on the screen standing side by side that we were all going to collectively groan. They knew it was going to happen. I'm hoping that they have other plans for him, for Murphy anyway, because at least Seth Rollins is feuding with Cesaro. At least that's new. At least Rollins didn't come back, because the last thing that we need right now is Rollins trying to shove Rey Mysterio, Dominik Mysterio's eye into his steps, and then that's what they use for Aleister Black's return. Like, that's the last thing that we need right now, is to see a complete repeat of that. But again, we have another SmackDown next week. Maybe Murphy will be on the show. Chances are he won't. Whether he is or whether he's not, we'll talk about it next week. Again, I just got the notification not too long ago. Part 2 of my conversation with Beth Phoenix is now live, so you can watch my entire conversation with Beth Phoenix up on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel, and my entire conversation with Jey Uso up on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel. And again, hopefully, fingers crossed, it is scheduled right now. I'll be talking to Tony Storm on Monday. Sid, anything you got coming up that you want to talk about?
Well, you guys can check out right here on the SK Wrestling YouTube channel my preview with Alex McCarthy of Talk Sport and Wrestling Daily for AEW Revolution this Sunday. And you can check out my YouTube channel, True Heel Heat, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, as we go live with True Heel Heat 115 with Stephanie Chase, previewing Revolution, as well as talking about Bobby Lashley, new WWE champion, and everything going on in the wrestling world.
Yes, so make sure to check it out. Make sure to follow us on Twitter as well. Our handles are right there. And I know we're over time, but real quick, real quick, who's the big signee? Who do you think it is for AEW?
I'm going with Christian.
I don't want it. No. It could literally be anybody else on the planet.
Yes.
Do not rob me of my Edge and Christian reunion matches. Do not do that to me. Do not give me that beautiful gift at the Royal Rumble. I'm talking to you, Tony Khan. Do not do that to me. WWE gave me a beautiful gift at the Royal Rumble. Don't rip it away from me, okay? Just don't do it. This is like, you could literally sign anybody else on the planet. Anybody else. Not him. CM Punk, great. Brock Lesnar, don't care. See ya, bye. RVD, wonderful. Do not care. Anybody else but Christian. Don't take that from me. That's all I'm asking for. I was hoping it was going to be AJ Lee personally, but he already said it was a dude. So
yeah,
it's probably going to be Christian, and I'm probably going to cry. We'll talk about that next week if it is Christian, because I'm sure I'm going to have some things to say, and this is the only live show I get to voice my frustrations on, and I will do it. I will gladly voice my frustrations if you haven't noticed that before. Scott Steiner, Booker T, I don't care who it is. Any of these people you're throwing out in the comments, anybody but Christian. Cam, it's not going to be Batista. I would be stunned if it's Batista. I know he said retirement means nothing now, but I would be absolutely stunned. All right, guys, we ran way over. I'm probably going to get yelled at by my bosses, but we'll be back next week, Friday, hopefully at 10:05, as long as our computers are working correctly. See you guys.